co-founder of this festival. So I'm completely honored that all of you submitted your films. This is our third year. It's been my dream since I was a little girl to create a film festival. So I'm just over the moon that I'm in my third year. I have a great team behind me. And this year we had to pivot and go virtual, but so did everyone else. So it wasn't like, oh, poor us. It was just like, let's join everybody else. And I was very pleased with Eventive. I thought it was really easy to use, user friendly. We have a wide outreach community of a very wide demographic in the audience age group. So we had a whole group of the Knowledge Exchange, which is my lifelong learning program, which is the partner of the festival. Those people are 65 to 90 that are watching the films. And even they were able to master Eventive and get in here and participate. And for them, that was a brand new world. So they saw a lot of your films, many of your films. They were part of the audience voting. I think, Nia, you guys won audience choice. So that was very exciting. But we have a great audience. And for the first year going virtual, it was really quite successful. I mean, you want to get hundreds of thousands of people, but what we got was really good considering it was our first year out. And so I just want to say welcome and thank you. And I thought this was a good idea that you guys all kind of organically, some couldn't just make it today. We just couldn't get the schedule for everybody that wanted to be involved in this. But the idea of sharing the films and maybe watching a couple and having a discussion amongst yourself. Obviously, Sang-Hoon and I, as judges, we really love all your films and had a tough time having to make those decisions. And the ratings came down to like a point, So that was tough for us, but we loved the films. But we would always think to ourselves, wonder what they think of these films. Are they watching each other's films? Please come to our fest and watch some. I know Nia came and you watched a couple of blocks and you gave us some great feedback on that. And so Sang-Hoon's idea was to bring everyone together, and hopefully you got a chance to watch some of these films and we can have a little, conversation about movies, which is the thing I love to do the most and why I created a film festival, because I love to talk about movies. So Sang-Hoon, talk a little bit about how that came about and what we'd like to do today with the cross reference to this movie.
Yeah, and then I think probably Nia would remember, because when I did Q&A, and I was, to be honest, skeptical. Okay, so another Zoom Q&A, but I think it went really well. Everybody was really passionate, and of course, everybody loved this process of making film, and then they're proud of their art. So I think it went really, really good. At the end of the Q&A, I just suggested, it popped up in my mind, because if it is like a pre-COVID world, very normal world, we would just watch the film together at the audience, and then after one program is over, and then we go to the podium and the front, and then we do the Q&A together. And then fun part is to just talk about other film. I think that's the best part of the film festival experience, because a lot of, especially short film, if you don't watch that film at the theater, it will be really, really, really almost a zero chance to watch that film. Of course, these days they just release it in Vimeo or some other platform, but it is not easy. So I think that in the festival, every time I go to any film festival, I try to watch at least one or two short film block program so that I can watch those short films. This is so precious. Some famous films, who cares, right? That film is going to be released. Or when I go to the Toronto Film Festival, of course, I love their lineup. But more than half of a film, I can watch it at the movie theater or Netflix or Amazon sometime later. So I try to watch the film. Okay, that film, I'm sure that film would never come out. So that kind of film I try to watch. I think that's kind of a mindset I just had. So it would be really great to just come back and then watch some other people's film. But the thing is that probably you guys are in different categories. So if you watch some film that from filmmakers here, that'd be great. So that's the whole point, to just talk about our films together. So, but if you didn't get a chance to watch it, that's fine, because I understand, because totally different categories, and this online screening experience that was a little weird. But yeah, so that was my idea.
I think that when you're in competition with a lot of things selected, I was in another one in the United States 2 days before. They had something like 80 films, or it was so you cannot watch all the things, but the Q&A are great, because you have the that's why we do movies. I think everybody for that to share with the people, to have the
Right.
first feelings of the people. And times are hard for youth and for artists today with the virus, but knowing how to reinvent new ways to share and never let the flame of culture go out is essential thing for everybody. And so virtual is great in this way, but we lose something because we lose the contact. And so in all the festival, winning is a thing, but sharing is the most important. And that's the first victory is here, is to share our work everywhere in the world, and to have the person just in front of us who can ask questions and to share the thing that's the most important for me.
Well, thanks for that, Marc. I totally believe that myself. And we were so thrilled to be able to have everyone participate in the Q&As. When we're a live face-to-face festival, it's not as easy to coordinate getting everyone there. We've done it. We've had full stage Q&As, but this was very exciting as to how many filmmakers, especially from the foreign countries, that were able to Zoom in. And so that made it, I think, a little bit extra special. But I'll go around right now and just tell everybody what we've got here. We'll start with Marc Saez. We have his film, The Role of a Lifetime. Did everybody get to see that? Role of a Lifetime. Okay. We have Frank Tovar. His film was Huckleberry Finn, A Close Place. Did we all see that? Huck Finn takes place in 2017, but has that Twain-esque-ness to it. Andy Compton, we have his film, Tin Box. Everybody got to see Tin Box? All right, we have Elijah Reynolds, and he came with What Kind of Day Has It Been? We all got to see that, right? And Nia Fairweather, and Kurt Williamson, I think he's here too, yes. They came to us with 4 Seasons. Did we all get to see that? And then I know Niels Bent, also from France, is supposed to be here today with his film Kaifala. But I don't know if he's here, if anyone saw Kaifala. Yeah. So looks like you guys got to see most of the films that we got the links for to share. So I think I'd really like to open it up. Obviously Sang-Hoon and I, we really love these films. These are why these films were made official selections, and some of your films actually won. So I could say something fantastic about each and every one of these films. And so I'll hold off, and I'll just let you guys have a little talk amongst yourselves. If anyone would like to start an impression, how about we start, since Marc was so vocal with his conversations about subtitles and foreign films and festivals. We'll start with Role of a Lifetime. We'll talk to you about what we thought about your film, and you can answer any of our questions, and we'll try to go around our screen that way.
Shoot.
Yes, I love it.
I guess I'll start by just saying that your lead actress was just incredible. It was really cool. It was kind of just like a one-woman show almost. And yeah, she just, from beginning to end, just killed it. I thought that was a really great performance.
And that was Veronique Picciotto. Is that how you say?
Yes.
How did you find Veronique? She seemed extremely professional.
Yes, she's a professional actress. The thing is that the film had a strange my first short film was about seduction, strange kind of David Lynch atmosphere. It was a thriller, and I didn't want to do a second short film. I wanted to go to a theater and find a producer for the feature. And one thing happened is that we create. I wrote. It was an adaptation, a play. It was a movie written by Tom Fontana and a Sidney Lumet movie few years ago. It was two years before the Weinstein affair and all the stuff and all the Me Too movement. And we created the play. It was about the fight against terrorism and torture in prison. So from a film by Sidney Lumet. These are 2 parallel interrogations in China and USA. In the USA, woman of the CIA interrogates an Arab, and in China, a Chinese interrogates an American woman. Veronique played the young American woman, and another guy, Al Majdi, the other actor, the Arabic. At one point of the play, the interrogators violently force them to begin to undress, forcing them to be naked. It's the part of the process of humiliation to crack them. And you know, Veronique was in this context. She was hallucinating. She was incredible. She was incredible on stage, and it starts by some. I had such hallucinating remarks from some people when there was the play, because nothing erotic in it. It was really a strong play. You know, you had a punch in the stomach when you watched it, and when they asked them to go naked, it's all the audience who's naked, in fact, and feels to and for example, it was incredible. One day I spoke with a Chilean spectator who was here and was very moved by the play, and who told that her husband had been thrown in prison after political position, and he had taken there. And also an Iranian spectator was here, and then I saw a guy who raised his hand, raised his hand like at school, and asked a question. You know, I was here, I was speaking with the other persons, and we were in the middle of the discussion, and he insisted, and so I stopped. I said yes, okay, and then he asked me, "Is it you who asked the actress to shave her sex like this, or is she shaved like that in life?" Let me tell you that it took me several seconds to open my mouth, so I was so hallucinated by the question. And it was the first, and another time an agent came, because Veronique invited a lot of agents and casting directors, and so an artistic agent came. Then he gave an appointment to Veronique. He said that she was incredible in his office, and so it was the next day he saw the play, and so he told her that okay, he loved the play, but he wanted to see her in something else, because and he wanted her to do more, because at her age she had to do more, and he asked her if she saw the movie Antichrist, and well, so, and ask her to do, you know, to film something, not even professionally. And so when she came back from the rendezvous with that guy, she told me that, and I said, okay, is he gonna take you in the agency? And she told me that, and I was so furious of that I wrote this story in one night. And the day after, I put it on the table. I said, "Okay, look at that. We're gonna shoot this, and you're gonna go back and see this pig and put him the movie in his face. We won't tell what it is. We don't put any visual on it, but he's gonna look." And at the time, so it was 2 years before the Weinstein affair, and she was afraid to do it. So we didn't shot the movie at the time. But the movie was here, and so the Weinstein affair appears with the Me Too and everything, and so after that she said, "Oh, I'm gonna still find a new agent. I need to find a new one, and maybe I'm gonna take all what I've done and do like a show reel." And I said, "Okay, no, don't do a show reel. I still want to do this movie." I was still writing my feature, but this one is important for me. It was important because as a man, I wanted to speak about that and to deliver my point of view on it and my feelings. And I told her, "You're gonna have here. It's not gonna be my director's film. It's more my first one, who's more technical and more. But this one is going to be an exercise, different exercise for me, because it's hard to film. The first one has not a lot of dialogues. It's really, it's an atmosphere film, fantastic thriller. And here it was different. It's a monologue, so it was good exercise for me. And I told her, "You're going to have your show reel with this film," and I know that it was great for her, but I couldn't imagine how many prizes we could have with it when I put it in festival. I saw, because my first short won at the time 9 awards, And as I started with this one, no, we are at 128 awards and a 41 Best Actress award for her. And I saw that when I put in the festival, the other talks about it, and it's funny because it put on the sunlight the first one too, no, because person they're asking me, oh, you've done another one, can I see it? But Veronique, this one was made for her, and I'm so happy for her. You know, I'm most happy for her in the festival when she has the best actress and for me the best director or something, because I know that it's really, that's what the song says in the movie. It's really hard to be a woman, and you have to fight, you have to exist, you have to. So it's a little victory. I think we've put we've put our stone on the beginning of building something, and I was happy for that. But and she's amazing. She's best actually. She's really sensible. She when you direct her, she it's not the like some Hollywood actress sometimes. Oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go there. She's clever. She understands everything. So it was a pleasure to work with her. And so I'm so happy now when she has all these awards and everything.
I think Andy was right in that we were all struck with that performance and all that dialogue that she had to carry through, and with the same energy throughout. And of course, for us at the festival, when it came to us, we see it post #MeToo, post Harvey Weinstein. So we have that, hindsight with us. So for me seeing it, I was like, yeah, right. And, this really speaks to that. And I hadn't seen anything come out that faced it head on that way. So I love that the story came out of something very real that happened. That just coincidentally ties into this terrible other pandemic that is happening in the filmmaking world. So I commend you for making the film and writing the script for her. I think Nia and Kurt can relate to that idea of having Nia acts in her film Four Seasons, does an outstanding performance. I think Kurt must have been incredibly happy with that performance as a director. And she also wrote. So I think she would relate definitely to what you're talking about. I think it's great you wrote it for Veronique, and that it does have an important place now in film because of #MeToo and Harvey Weinstein. And we can look at it as tongue-in-cheek, fun, revenge. We can also look at it as a really great answer to all of that. But anybody else have any comments for Marc before?
Yeah, I would just like to say, because as an actress whose foundation is in theater, seeing someone do a monologue or a piece that is very verbose isn't foreign to me. And the first short that I did was a monologue of mine that I turned into a short called Ordeal, which Kurt, who directed Four Seasons, was my DP on, right? So that's how we came to continue to work together with Four Seasons. So from that perspective, the story that you told, Marc, I understand, because I was in a similar place where I was going to agents and different people, and they want to see more of my work.
Yeah.
I like your look. I like your work. We just don't know where to put, all the things that people say. I knew as an actress, it's hard not to hear about or know about certain things that are happening or having your own experiences, where people make advances or suggestions, or you're cast in a film and there's a sex scene or something and you're very vulnerable, right? So for me, in watching it, I think I was in that place of being the woman and the actress. Unfortunately, has had to either protect myself or be hyper aware. You hear grumblings about things. So when Harvey Weinstein and everything came out and the Me Too movement, for me, it was interesting because, and I could say this, I won't say the person's name, but one of the people, the agents and managers, people were pushing, were like, you need to meet. By months into that whole Me Too, it was revealed that he was one of the people, and was removed from his agency and everything else. And I was like, oh, and I so wanted to meet this person because everybody was like, oh, he'll be great. When I heard that news, I was like, oh, I felt like I was saved. It it was a very weird thing where as the actor, you know, the agents are your gateways to work, and you being frustrated because you're like, I could do the work, I just need access. And then you hear that news. And for me, I was like, well, then I want the right person. That clearly wasn't. And it's unfortunate because I know, although I may feel saved or spared from that experience, I know there were countless others who weren't, right? So it's not like a yay me, it's kind of like, oh God, you know, it's mixed feelings. So say that all to say, I experienced it, and it wasn't, seeing a monologue wasn't trippy to me, because for me it blended theater and film, which is what I like. And
But
to
it
see
was only because you know, men talked to me about the film too, and said I could have been the leading actor too in this, because the same words I've had the same experience, bad experience, unfortunately. So here it's a woman, but it can be universal, and so it takes place in cinema industry, but it can be, you know, in the normal industry. It can be everywhere when you have power and this problem with power, and so that's why I wanted to talk about that.
But I did have one question.
Yeah, tell me.
What the choice at the end?
Yeah.
What made you make that choice to end it? Because I was like, oh, what?
Like a lot of, yes, like a lot of persons. Because if I didn't do that, it's just a revenge movie. It's not real life, because I spoke with a lot of persons, and most of them who had this kind of experience are really disturbed by this experience. And if they are fragile, they can go this way. But for me, this end, it's not an end. It's a beginning of something. I think she's heroic. That's my point of view. Because at the time, you know, she did everything to put him in jail, because she had the testimony of other girls. She says to him, but when he says, I think there is something deeper in her, and when she goes out, and when he says, so you bitch, and so she understands that maybe it can go on and on. And by doing what she did, it's a way to trap him, definitely. So I think she's heroic for the others. It's not something so sad. She's at a point, she lived a lot of things. She's not a young girl. But she's hurt by a lot of things. And here, doing this, she's saving all the other girls after. I think that was my point of view. But sure, everybody wants the bad guy to be to be shot, or to, you know. But when you speak to people, and it was funny because in the film was also in competition in New York, and I had the Q&A with the guy, and I had a psy who told me, Cycras, who told me it was so, the film was so real for that reason, because she received a lot of actors and actresses who told about this kind of bad experiences, and they're really destroyed inside. So if I did it differently, it would have been just a revenge movie like we can see everywhere. You know, the monologue, it's a different way to shoot it, but I think that's the end who put the salt on it, I think.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. I think for now hearing you, because for me it could go two ways, but I think what as much as, you know, with the Me Too movement and everything, and, you know, everyone, you see persons being prosecuted or losing their jobs, or, you know, their positions, the part of it that I don't think gets talked about, and I think because it's challenging, is those who've experienced the abuse or the assault, even with that person away, doesn't absolve what that has done for them, you know, and what they have to live with in those feelings. So I was curious if that was a pinpoint to that even though she has all of all the evidence against him is there, was that an act of freeing herself or others? And you just answered that. I wasn't sure.
And if you watch it again, there is a small detail, but that's my where the place where she is at DM. There's a small in the ground. there's a small tree growing like a small plant. For me, it was the beginning of something. Like you put something in the and so that's symbolic way to say that's not the end, but can be more after and go on and on in a good way.
Yes, thank you, Marc. I actually did like the ending. I was afraid that it was going to get too vicious, and I didn't want her to turn into a murderer, basically, right? So
Yeah,
that's why
that's also why I choose this kind of actor in front of her, and that's the movie couldn't exist without Olivier in
oh
front
yeah,
of her,
right.
and I'm so happy for him because he won in Tibet and in other countries 12 times the best supporting actor, but he's just saying 2 words or 3 words in the play, but the people saw more than the words, the presence of the actor and everything was important. And if I choose another guy, a nice guy, you're looking, or maybe she would have been the torturer and the bad girl in the film. So that's the balance was after fun. And when I found my two actors, I think I found it.
Yes, I think the balance between them was quite perfect. It made it work because he was so pathetic at first, and then of course we realize he has not changed. He's still mean at the end, but we
Yeah.
still don't want to see her commit such an act of brutality. So I really loved how it ended, even though it could have, like Nia said, it could have gone either way. But anyone else have any questions from Marc about the role of a lifetime? Frank,
Yes.
yes?
I'm curious, where did you shoot that? The location is fantastic.
It was close to a studio where I used to work for dubbing films, where I do French dubbing. And there is this place, and every time when I go there, I say, oh, man, I must do something in this. And so when I had the idea, it was the perfect place. It's in the Paris suburban, and it was like that. And it was the last chance, I think, to shoot in it, because after that it's an old factory and they're gonna destroy everything to build new apartments and everything. So I think I'm the last one who could have shot in this place. And it was hard to find who was the owner of the place. But when I found these guys, and man, I could pay you I don't know how many money, but I won this place. I won this place because it was incredible. I had nothing to do inside. It was like that, with all the tags and everything. So it was perfect for me.
Okay, thanks. Well, I think we need to move on to another film because we could just spend an hour on everybody's movie, I think. But unless anyone else has a specific question for Marc, I think we can all say that we enjoyed your film. It was very good. Excellent, by the way. I think that Nia probably really enjoyed being an actress to watch that performance because it was really a tour de force. And I think I enjoyed her performance very much, just like I enjoyed Nia's. But I don't want to be the seguer, so I want to let you guys kind of choose what movie you'd like to talk about next, or does Sang-hoon want to pick one?
Oh. If I can get to pick one, I was going to ask a question to Teen Box director. I think he was here, Andy, and then his video is off. So he's back.
Hi, Andy.
Yeah. So hi, and yeah, of course I have a question for everyone, but since we have a limited time, so I just pick one now, because I really love your film. And then actually when I was judging, I didn't watch your film. I watched it through the festival because I was judging like a drama, and people know me like I cannot watch any horror film. So they didn't put me in the horror movie category. But your film was not, horror movie. It was great drama. I loved it. And especially cinematography, very subtle. And I was actually kind of happy and surprised. In there's a lot of layers in hallucination, I think, and especially when he wakes up in his bed in the same house as if he's the owner of the house. And I think that layer was very interesting to me, because there are I think to me, three types of layer. The guy in the bathroom, and then doing drug, and then
Mhm.
the guy who is intruder of the house, and then guy as the owner of the house, right?
Mhm.
Can you tell me like just a two layer of hallucination? Guy who's the intruder is more like a original guy who would do it, right? In when he's high, and then another layer is that he's the as if he's the owner of the house. He just wakes up in the bed and then drink the water out of fridge. So can you
Mhm.
tell me what those two layers means in this film?
Yeah. So at the beginning, of course, he's using drugs in a bathroom. He's an opioid addict, and he sees an opportunity to break into a random house, and he does it. And as he's in there, the whole thing is he kind of starts to realize. Well, he doesn't realize it. We learn at the end that this whole film, the whole outside of the beginning and the very ending shots, the whole film was like in his mind, and it's basically what's happening in his brain as he's already on the ground overdosing in the bathroom.
Right.
So he's imagining all these things, and I don't know if you caught this, it's pretty subtle, but like in that when he wakes up in the bed and he goes down to the kitchen and gets a drink of water, when he closes the fridge, there's a holiday card from a
Right. The
doctor.
guy, yeah,
Yeah. So
the guy who
his
kills
brain
himself.
is his brain is like imagining uh or what's the word? He's basically imagining his doctor is the one who is doing this to him, who is hurting him, because it's kind of a commentary on that whole over prescribing of opioids that are leading to addiction and leading to overdose. And so yeah, and it's funny that whole sequence with him waking up in the bed and going downstairs and getting the water and taking the pills, that was actually all shot as a reshoot, just because my college class where I was showing this film, no one understood it, and we're like, what can we do to try to fix this? Because I think we had 3 different reshoot dates for this, and we had 3 different days of doing the ADR scene whenever he's talking to the person behind the door, because obviously that's him behind the
Right.
door as well, but it's the version of himself before he was a drug addict. So he's saying, I'm trapped in here, he's keeping me in here and all that
Right.
stuff. So yeah, this film, it's a class project at Webster University, and the very first cuts that we were showing, no one knew what the hell was going on. So we just had to keep doing reshoots. And I said this in our Q&A, in the thriller Q&A. This project really, I owe like, 3 20-person classes, so like 60 students, some credit, because we all kind of sat around brainstorming, like, how do we make this thing work? Like, we know the bones are there, the skeleton is there, but it's just not coming across the way we wanted it to. And yeah, so
Wow.
by the end, it was a whole group project, kind of.
And
That's
you
great.
had the
Yeah.
and you had the idea of this happy end first, or something different with the.
Yeah, I wrote that into the script. Yeah, it was
Okay.
always going to be that kind of twist ending.
That's
I
great.
think
You
that-
admit that. I would say that's all my idea, people. But you
Oh
say it's,
yeah.
that's from the other people's critic. So I think that's how I understood actually that the house was actually, to me, my understanding, that was his house. That's everything started there, and then he eventually getting addicted to the opioid, and then like as if he came back as as an intruder, his own house or own his soul, whatever, not the physical house if it is. So
a
kind
lot
of that
of
cycle.
a lot of people thought that, and you know what? I like that more than what I thought. I'm gonna go ahead and steal that from here on out. That was his old home, but no,
Oh,
No,
I
either it could be
thought it
home or
was,
it could be his soul, because in the very one before the last sequence, 2 people are knocking the door, but
Mhm.
there
Yeah.
was like a paramedic,
Yeah, it
right?
was
So
paramedics.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
two
saving.
paramedics. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be physical house. It could be like people are coming to that house, symbolize his soul.
Yeah, that's what it was
Him
meant
as
to
an
be.
entity.
It was the manifestation of his brain,
Right,
his addict brain especially.
right,
And in this small
right.
corner of his addict brain, the version of himself before he was an addict is locked behind a door, quote unquote.
Right,
So,
right.
well, I
Suzanne, were
think
you going to say something?
yeah, I think what worked so well with Tin Box for me was that I was right with what was happening in the beginning. I knew what this guy was doing, but then we go on this physical physical journey with him to this house and the people. And then to me, it turns into, okay, like this is horror, because imagine going into a house and hearing someone begging you to let them out. And so I get with that for a second. I'm like, oh, whoa, he's a drug addict. He's not the right person who's going to help this person. And then I suddenly start to see that maybe this is all part of something that's not really happening. So I love that I was taken into something I thought was happening, and then I questioned it. And then by the time he's crawling on that ground and you're cutting between the paramedics getting into that stall, I was just gripping my seat, loving it, thinking, wow. And some people kind of said, oh, I don't like those, it's all a dream movies. And I had to sort of say, this is not that. This is in the mind of someone who's just about to overdose from drugs. He's probably almost at death. And this experience was like his almost dying, almost dying. And he came, I think, do they save him? I'm thinking that they do, but a lot of other people said, no, he's done. This was it.
In my opinion, no, he dies on the floor, in my opinion, but it is open for interpretation. So, if you like happy endings, I don't care if you choose that, because that's okay too.
I'm good with the dark endings, but I wanted it to be happier. I was hoping he really, by the way he was crawling to the light, I thought maybe they are saving him, but most everyone else in the committee was like, nah, man, he dies at the end.
Yeah, there's a whole thing. Whenever he breaks in, the first thing that he does is goes to a bedroom and he steals a jar of change and a watch. And those are meant, this is like really artsy fartsy stuff I'm almost embarrassed by, but that's meant to be like that he's trying to steal more time with the watch and
The
a
Salvador
change
Dali
with
picture.
the jar of change.
Yeah.
What's that?
Salvador Dali, the picture with the clock and then all that.
Yeah. And the clocks
twisty
are like all supposed to
yeah.
be frozen to also signify that this isn't really happening. Time has stopped. But then whenever he's in the scene where he wakes up, it's meant to be a flashback. That clock is ticking to signify that like this is real life. But
well, whatever you guys, I realized you said you had to work a lot to bring this into a comprehensive film because you were getting feedback that people weren't getting it. I love a movie that makes me think and that I have to work at it. I do enjoy that. But I think you achieved a little bit of both. You did help it be a little bit more comprehensive and understandable, but it was still a little mystery that we had to follow along, and it was very well done. So
thank you so
loved
much.
it.
Actually, I really enjoyed it. I didn't see it in the festival, so I saw it when they sent it for our Q&A. So I did not know the genre. So I was just watching. I did not have the preference. So had I had that, I think I would have been like Sung-Hoon, like, I don't know, right? But I have to say this, I really enjoyed it because I think there's a shot when you come in, when he gets into the house, there's a post of Whiplash. Am I making that up?
That is so funny that you brought that up.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah,
okay,
what is your Whiplash?
And because when he walks into the kitchen, you see him like in a frame of like light in the kitchen, and then you see Whiplash in the recess of the wall. And for me, because I love that movie, I was like, okay. It wasn't until the end that I was like, wait, is he a musician? Because I felt like that, if you have that, you have to like music, you have to like films or something about that. But with all of the pieces started to come together when he has the encounter at the end, when he's in the kitchen, when he's been bludgeoned by the guy, right? Because I could see at the beginning when he is heating up the opioid and everything else. And what was so powerful to me, I think for people who have dealt with individuals who have had drug use, and or people who have come close to overdosing, it wasn't far-fetched for me to watch, to be quite honest. I know of a circumstance where someone was on something and was having, I don't know if it's a trip, I don't know what that feels like, but they kept saying, is this how I'm gonna die? Is this how I'm gonna die while they're at the hospital? You know what I'm saying?
That's scary.
So, and that person, they were able to help, right? And so in hearing you talk and looking at what it was and his own fight, and even at the end of the stall, when I watched that, I was like, I don't know. It's that blurry between, is this really happening? Am I dreaming? Is this blurry? Is this happening? And that's for me was the dark side of what it means to be high, not the trippy, love child having a great time high, right? Like this is like the real truth of what
Really?
can happen. And with a
Yeah.
lot of the opioids and stuff, people don't know to what extent your reaction will be. It's like you're gambling every single time. So for me, I really was touched by even when it's like he got to the room, the bedroom, but then he had to go in the drawer and all the pictures from what looked like his childhood. Like his recess inner child was in a drawer. And that the man was like, you're gonna have to come out either one way or the other. And it was like he knew, and he was looking through the pictures with his bloody hands. So it was like I knew his fate was not in a good place once that happened. And so it was just really interesting. I thought it was very, very layered. And for me, it's thriller is the best way and genre to depict something like this. You know, as they call it, psychological thrillers. But I'm like, when you talk about drug use or mental illness or, you know, or some kind of stuff, like what that feels like for the person, it's very, very terrifying. So I thought you really capture that. And I think like Sung-hoon, I looked at the house as him because there were so many references of things that he was finding and hiding and then trying to escape from. And then with the paramedics at the end, I felt like, okay, I think this might be the end for him. But you never know. I just thought the fact that he was there, they would need probably a lot more to revive him. They didn't have, you know? So I just felt like, wow. And because he was locked in the bathroom stall, so they would have had to break through all of that, or, you know, there would have been so much time lapse between someone finding him than if he was just in his bedroom and his brother walked in, you know?
Yeah.
So I thought
very well written. Yeah, very well written in that respect. I understand. I think you wrote most of it, even though you had a lot of input. Very well written. I think it's an outstanding job. I think that for longevity, it could run, I feel, as a powerful anti-drug film. I mean, you can call it horror thriller, but when you find out really what's happened, it's an anti-drug film. I love it. I love it in that respect. So bravo.
Quick funny story, the Whiplash poster. So that's the lead actor's house where he lives with 3 other guys, and it's just a guy house, like almost like a frat house kind of thing. And we thought we took everything down. We shot, and in post, we realized we left a stupid Whiplash poster up in the living room that has no place being there. And we were going to try to motion track it and take it out, but it was so difficult because the actor crossed over that poster when he's walking. And it was beyond our capability to do on our own. So we left it in, and that's just the story behind that. It was just a funny little film mistake. So,
but it works.
I'm glad that you made meaning out of it somehow. That's kind of cool.
That happens all the
homeowner
time.
who
Like
comes
a little,
back.
little tiny thing. Like everything in the frame will be asked. I just tell my students too. Like you will be surprised if you go to festival and Q&A. And then people will find out something at the very edge of the frame, and they'll ask what that means in your film. So you have to get ready for every single bit of image that you shot. But anyways, I was blown away when you said there's a class project. What university was it you said? Webster University?
Webster University in St. Louis, yeah. It's a international university, but the home campus is in St. Louis. Yeah.
Wow.
Great.
You guys have a great film program.
Yeah.
I love the details in the movie and how the audience really has to pay attention. And I think you found a great balance in terms of not hitting the audience over the head. You know, they have to really think about what they're watching. I know I did, and after the film, keep thinking about it, which I applaud. And I just love your attention to detail, the collection of cigarette fragments in the tissue. The backpack that's always open because I guess there's a broken zipper or something. Just these details that, really outstanding work, and I love all your choices. And
thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. The open backpack too. That was the lead actor. We talked before we shoot the film. I say, hey, do you have an old, dirty looking backpack? Yeah, I do. We get to the first day of shooting, and he shows me that the zipper's I'm like, why is it open? Close it. He's he's like, oh, the zipper's broken. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me that, dude? We could have got a different backpack. Like, I hate that it's open. I truly hate that backpack is open.
I mean, it's something he found, and
it could be, yeah. I was like, whenever you're shooting, you're just like, okay, whatever, let's go. Like some things are just, you got to pick and choose battles.
I think, you know what, this is a good story about the production too. If your story works well, and then all that thing can be interpreted this way, but if your story is not executed well, everything that we mentioned would look like a real mistake. Yeah. But because the story was really well executed, so we just audience trust that is the meaningful, the thing, and then it became, because that makes audience creative. I think that I love that process. The audience is not just sitting watching movie, try to participate in the film, and then find out the meaning of the image and audio.
That's really interesting. That's cool. Thank you. I hadn't thought about it like that, but that's a huge compliment. Thank you.
Yeah. So next to Q&A, just tell everything. Yeah, the open back, that was from the beginning. That is a design.
Well, I've been told to own it and pretend, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just an open book about stuff. I like talking about how I messed up.
But it made sense, because for me, I'm like, oh yeah, this dude, he doesn't care about anything, about one thing, and so he doesn't care if his backpack's open. So it made complete sense to me. It fit the character. So. Good job.
Thank you.
So I'd like to quickly round over to Elijah. We haven't heard much from you yet, and your film fell into the little bit of the thriller category as well, even though it was considered a drama, and I think we considered it high drama. So Elijah Reynolds,
hello.
I believe high school, was it a high school film? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, well, I mean, I didn't make it in high school, but it takes place in a high school.
Yes. But it was submitted as a college short, maybe, or
no, professional.
Oh, it is professional.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Oh, I have my
that's
notes
okay.
here. Yes, professional. So, in a way, I was saying it could also be considered a thriller, even though we build it as a drama, not a horror, even though it was quite horrific. So my first comment to you will be outstanding. I thought the sound design is pretty much one of the stars of the film. Because you cannot get away from that sound design, that tapping and all that, right from the beginning all the way through the credits. I thought it was a brilliant decision to carry that continuity with sound design. So I love that. I thought the acting was fantastic, a gripping story, and very brave to set your story in that kind of an environment, of which we all know of, hear of, hope we never have to experience, hope we don't have to know anyone who experiences it, yet to put it in the moment like that for us, in the context of their days are stressful anyway.
Right.
I loved it.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely paid a lot of attention to the sound design, because, it's written to, and some people forget this, not have dialogue. While there is a story being told through dialogue, it's not spoken, it's all through those text messages. So very early on, I realized, like, my sound is going to be everything. If it's not right, this film will not work. So that was something that we had to be very detailed about. And I had two great guys. Matthew Shillelagh was my composer, incredible. The score is still probably my favorite thing of the entire film. And then another Matt actually was the sound designer and engineer. And we talked a lot about how we would create stress through that sound throughout the entire thing, and how even the score wouldn't necessarily be what you think of as a traditional score so much as almost a soundscape, where it really is trying to put emotions into you subconsciously. Talked about kind of some of the early stuff with I'm trying to remember the name of the movie right now.
What kind of day has it been?
Oh, no. A horror film from.
You're referencing.
No, I definitely know my. Yeah. No, The Exorcist. Very early on, whenever they were playing with sound design, they actually would put in very subtle sounds of like primal animals and stuff like that to mess with your psychology subconsciously. And we talked a lot about how we could kind of do that. So yeah, sound was really important. So I'm
But it's
very
funny
glad.
because when you're a director, you know that when you open a door, there's a sound of the door when you open it. But if you want to do something more strange, you can. Sometimes I did it for a play on stage. I took an animal sound plus the sound of the door, and then you have something perfect for your film.
Right,
And it's
exactly.
the sound is the second texture of the film. You have
Mhm.
to have the good place where you shoot the things, and the sound is so important because it depends. If you let for example, the guy who's gonna do the music do all the things, that he's gonna do a clip. If you go with the sound designer, he's gonna and the balance is really thin. And it's your choice at the end, and that's
Right.
where we see a director, and you have the really good balance in your film.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely just one of those things that it's hard to completely figure out what that balance needs to be. But one of the things I learned early on just about filmmaking in general is people will forgive a bad picture. They will not forgive bad sound. It's
That's always what I say in my production
yeah,
class. That's
no,
exactly what I say.
it's actually it's if I'm producing a film, one of the things I say up front is I will not allow you to cheap out on sound, because if it sounds like a tin not if it sounds like a tin can, not a tin box, but a tin can, people notice that, and it's very annoying. Whenever it comes to an actual picture, a lot of times people subconsciously understand that it's a good picture, but unless you are actually very into the art form, a lot of people don't know the difference between 35 millimeter and shooting on a red camera versus a black magic versus an RE, et cetera, et cetera. As a director, I understand those things. I love those things. I'll dig into that any day of the week. But people inherently will recognize a horrible sound.
Yeah, and keeping the sounds of the screams and all that in,
Mhm.
just off camera, but hearing it was really chilling. I mean, I was just absolutely horrified watching it, even though I love the film. Uh,
Right.
that was really chilling, and a good choice, because not to show, you don't want to make that kind of film, I don't think. But I thought all your choices were very, very well made in this film.
Thank you.
Anyone
And
else?
Yeah,
when
I
it's oh, go ahead. I'm
You've
sorry.
put a lot of stress in the keyboards.
Yeah,
You can go
no,
ahead. Nina.
I was gonna say, for me, the feeling of angst started with how much pressure the students are under.
Hmm.
That's what was like that whole like getting into college process, trying to pass their exams, all of that. Like I remember, like in high school, I still to this day, I'm like probably my nephews love me because I'm like, I think it's too soon to have to decide your life at 17. Like all the kids are like, yay, because it's a lot of pressure. And I'm like, you're supposed to decide what we want to do with our lives in this moment. And it's like, have you really lived yet? Do you even know? So I was already in that seat of how much pressure. Then they're trying to have a meeting. I imagine they were probably like the yearbook club or the newspaper, all of that,
Hmm.
on top of trying to get into the school, on top of trying to be in the school where where your partner is, and it's just like all of that.
Right.
And then, and then this enters, right? And I just felt that was just compounding the clicking of the cell phone, of the buttons, the
Hmm.
whole social media texting thing was like anxiety like added to it.
Right.
And then how each of them related to their phones when there was a crisis was
Mhm.
what struck me. When the young man was trying to videotape, I literally was like, what? Hi, turn the light off. Like I was like in primal, how do you protect yourself mode?
Hmm.
And he is like trying to document it. And I'm like, to show to whom? Like, is it online? Like all the questions. So for me, it was really interesting. And I would imagine this is a question for you. Was it intentional? Because the young lady who made a point to use her phone to tell her mom, please don't come. There's a shooting, active shooting, don't come. Was trying to do it from a place of help and to save someone else. And while she's fearful for herself and her classmates, and the young man who was trying to document it for I don't know what reason is the person who, unfortunately, not to say he's the reason why he died or perished in this, because it was a violent event anyway, right? We don't know the motives behind the shootings, but the fact that he is the one, and it said in that pamphlet or the high school paper at the end that he died trying to document the thing, and I was just like, what? The primal thing probably shouldn't,
right.
Oh, which one, So I really appreciated that, because I think about that all the time. I think about that when we're out and how much we're on our phones, and people who get into accidents or get hit by cars, or, and that's not even just, just how it impedes our own awareness.
Right.
But this was a specific scenario where you were trapped and people have to deal with it. But I'm just curious, because I was just
absolutely. That's one thing. I actually talked a lot to Aubrey Peiser, who was also a producer on the film. She's my best friend and played Cassie, the first girl you see. We talked a lot, as well as with the other actors, about how each of them were going to react in that situation, because people react totally differently to life and death situations. With Cassie, her character, it was kind of this weird amount of acceptance. Just like whenever I feel like I tried to craft these high school characters to be very educated people, people who really did care very much about their education and their future and where they're going. And I feel like when you are in that space, you're very aware of kind of the reality of your situation, and that it's a coin flip. As unfortunate as that is, it's a coin flip. So obviously she didn't want her mom to be there, but there was that fear there, but there was a bit of acceptance. For the actor's name is Shane, his character Jay. For his character, I almost wanted it to be like he didn't realize that he could actually die. In fact, what was happening there with his documentary, and again, like Andy said, this is kind of open for interpretation. In my mind, what his character is thinking is, if I document this, because it's going to be a national news story, because it always is. Not always, actually, unfortunately, because of how common it is, but a lot of times when it happens in these high schools in this dramatic of a fashion, it's a national news story, a global news story. If I can document this, maybe I can get into a better school on a scholarship. That's what's going through his head. It's not about, am I going to live or am I going to die? His mind is still in that place of, could this actually better my future? And at the same time, of course, like, okay, I can be a journalist, I can help, find what else is going on, but he's not thinking about himself in that context. And then with the actress's name is Asia, who is brilliant in the film. Like, there is not an amount of directing I can do to gin up that kind of talent. That was just her. Incredible. Her character Joanne, she just thought she was gonna die. Like, there, bar none. Like, that is the breakdown moment. And I felt like it was really important to see all of those different reactions. Just because I feel like a lot of times in drama, we only see that last one. Where you just think inherently that's what you're going to think about, and people are different. I mean, that is characterization, right? So it was just very important to me to see all of those differences. So yeah, it was definitely, I'm glad you picked up on that too, how they interacted with their phones. Like, what are they going to do with that? Asia kind of forgot about hers. Jay obviously was still very attached, thought I can do something. And Cassie, didn't want to think about it and remembered that she just asked her mom to bring her homework. And oh my gosh, like I cannot imagine being in that situation with my mom, who, you know, another best friend, I love her so much, very close to my mom, is coming to a place that is now just getting shot up, unfortunately. And I really thought those circumstances were really important to reflect in the film.
Absolutely. Walter,
I
sorry,
think
Andy, did you have a question? Or I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, touching on your point about that being open for interpretation,
Mhm.
I actually saw that as that this kid just was born to be a journalist. Like it's in his blood. It's his
Mhm.
instinct. You know, like I have to document this, and that's why he's pursuing this career, obviously. But as a whole, excuse me, as a whole, yeah, when the movie started, I was like, oh, cool. Like there's no dialogue, and this is going to be something different. It's all through text. This is really neat. And when those shots started, when Joanne was in the bathroom, it was like it just really shocked me, and I was like, oh my god. And just as far as like being emotionally affected, I didn't see it coming, the just
Mm.
how effective it was going to be, because of course, you know, the idea of a school shooting is so terrifying. But I think, again, credit to your sound design, it was just so effective. I was terrified watching,
Mhm.
you know, just you put yourself in that situation. And I'm already someone who's not a huge fan of guns, you know. I mean, if
Right.
you like them, to each their own, but I'm just scared of them. Like
Yeah.
they're frightening. So yeah, hearing those shots, it was like, oh my gosh, that would be so horrific. Um, and yeah, I just wanted to say that I thought it was going to be one thing, and then it switched gears, and it really just really got under my skin and got me feeling a lot of things. So good
Mm.
job.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I know it's getting late, but I want to just quickly, like I mentioned, a couple of things. Everybody just talked about sound design, awesome. But the first time I see the text, because to be honest with you, I saw many film with a text
Mhm.
effect, but I think this film is the best film with a text usage. It's supposed to be that way. And then I was thinking actually that I really want to focus on, you said, like a weird acceptance. So
Mhm.
I was thinking a lot while I was watching this one. I was thinking first time, was it the kind of a carelessness of teenager attitude? But at the end, I realized that, wow, that could be kind of about this text generation, because
Mhm.
all the information is from the text, not with the audio and visual that we can sense it. But when you just see that everything event that's happening, even if it's a most horrific event, when you read the text, you can objectify from the situation way more than audio and visual element. So I think that made me kind of really chill at the end,
Mm.
because even school shooting could be felt like it's not like a teenager weird acceptance to me. Like probably it is, because I think that I was really wanting to ask it, is that your intention to make this
Mm.
thing much more weird acceptance by using this text, not the actual kind of a this school shooting story conveyed with the audio visual, the real experience.
Right. Yeah. It definitely. So whenever thinking about the text messages, in general, I actually wasn't trying to convey all that much about technology or how kids use technology. But I do think it started to transform into that in a great way. I think because I'm not super like into the anti-technology. We have to get rid of all like I watch The Social Dilemma, and I think that is very important documentary. Everyone should watch. Everyone should be aware of what technology companies can do. But I understand it as a tool and think that these kids are trying to use it as much to their benefit and as a tool as possible. But it does add to your stress level. I mean, just not only in this generation are you piling up all those different things, all those different assignments, all the different extracurricular activities and hours that you're trying to put in to get into the best possible college so you can have the best possible career, et cetera, but you're also hearing all of these different things on your phone, or if it has to be off during school, you're thinking about what you're missing on your phone, and it just adds that extra level of stress. And I wasn't necessarily trying to comment on that. Actually, what it was trying to do originally, but I'm kind of glad it transitioned to that, was actually talk about how silenced kids have been around this issue, both of public education and gun violence, for so long. It was really not until the Parkland High School kids stepped up to become political pundits, very effective political pundits, that we really got a chance to hear these experiences firsthand from people who were very, very passionate about their experience. And I thought that would be such an interesting way of having that silence kind of expanded throughout the film. It's just, you know, of course, we're all talking, we're all socializing in high school, we're trying to figure out who we are, but this is now such a huge part of it.
I just wanted to add one more thing. The thing that was so, that just really touched me too, and I think also doesn't get talked about often enough, is that teachers are also our first line of defense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like our teachers and our educators, who not only are molding the minds and dealing with all of these kids and their angst and whatever they're dealing with, but also now have to be prepared in what to do if and when a shooting should happen. So what struck me was also that yet we're still talking about the value of teachers and what they should be paid and all those things. I'm like, they're not only educating our kids, but now they are literally first line of defense and have to throw themselves in harm's way for 30 students, and, you know, depending on what school it is, what the student body is. And I thought just that the moment the gunshots were going off, how everyone was prepared, because they must have had a drill. And just like that notion of having to have drills, like fire drills, sure, but like a drill for shooting that folks knew, turn off the light, hide by the desk, do this, hide this way, was so terrifying. You know, like to know, like we know this is happening, but to see it and to see the teacher have to be calm and hold that space when they too, their lives are at risk. You know, we don't know about their families, because when they're at their job, it's about other people's kids. So I thought that's the other part of it that I don't think gets talked about enough when we talk about what it means to be a student, what it means to be a teacher in this day and age, where you do have to deal with the cell phones, the pressure, and now not just fire drills, but drills that are it's terrifying. I can't even, you know, how does one focus knowing that, you know, like when you have a shooting drill at school, like that's unsettling for the rest of the day. I think.
Right.
You know?
When I first heard that was being instilled in schools, I remember thinking, understanding that it was necessary, but thinking, oh my God, you know, kids having to go through a drill. And I saw in your film that preparedness that you showed, that they did know, they knew what to do. And that was chilling in itself, to watch them get into place very calmly and quietly, just do their thing. One thing at the festival that's frustrating is that we like to try to find legs for the films outside of our fest, try to help you guys find other places that would be good for showing your film. You know, I know in your director's statement, you had mentioned that you would hope that rather than being entertained, people would come out of this with ideas about public education and safety and so mental issues, health and all that. So, you know, it was nice that you put that in your director's statement, because no, you don't want to look at this as entertaining, even though filmically and cinematically, yes, it's gripping and it's a story and it had us. But I would love to see this shown to whomever needs to see it to felicitate change. So if we could just find ways. So I do that behind the scenes after a festival is over. I know that I try to find ways to find another spot to show your film. So we need to move on. If you have any other questions for Elijah. Oh, yes, Frank.
I just have to say, I love your ending. I think it's a really humane film. You know, yes, tomorrow will be different. These bright young people, despite all they've been through, and perhaps because of all they've been through, you know, they're determined to make tomorrow different, I think. And yeah, at one point, the mother said, I think it's the mother who said, text to Cassie, you know, you'll figure it out. Yet I think they will figure it out.
And because you have a new president in the United States now.
We're trying. We sure are trying. It's been a process. But
It's been a
hopefully.
process. We're still in it.
Yeah.
But, maybe then we'll segue into Frank's film, Huckleberry Finn, A Close Place. If you noted what that was the classic take on a very, very well-known novel by Mark Twain, yet Frank chose to set it in 2017 and have his character be a refugee from Somalia. So I found that extremely interesting. I think the whole festival was sort of like, oh, wow, look at this film. So something very different as out of the genres that we've been speaking about. So I'd like to turn it over to Frank's film and see how many questions you have for Frank about Huckleberry Finn, A Close Place.
Well, first of all, I just have to note the inspiration of the work that Daniel Nearing and Sang-Hoon Lee have done with their films. You know, adaptations that transpose certain works and consider the presentness of history. You know, how the history is not history is you know, it's no more past than a rock that took you know how many hundreds of years to form, falling right on your foot. You know, that's so yeah. I just have to note.
So you were inspired by
Chicago Heights and
Sang-Hoon.
Hogtown, and of course I love Banana
Oh,
Season
did you watch
too.
those?
Yeah.
Oh, you watched Banana Season? Oh.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
Sang-Hoon and Dan Nearing are resident filmmakers at Governor State University. They're also judges and part of my festival committee. But we've all seen their films, obviously, and been huge champions of them. But the first film that Sang-Hoon and Dan worked on called Chicago Heights, I know exactly what you mean, actually, when I think about that film, taking Winesburg, Ohio, right? Taking that story and putting it,
Sherwood Anderson, yeah.
Sherwood Anderson's Winesburg, Ohio, and taking it from being a white middle-class family and turning it into a black lower-class family in Chicago Heights, Illinois. It was a beautiful film. Sang-Hoon is a fantastic cinematographer and also director. But I'm thrilled that the film has inspired you to then move on and take this beloved Huckleberry Finn story, an episode from that novel, and transpose it to 2017. It was really, really unique.
And the cinematography is brilliant. I love it.
Yes.
Because it looks like all the classic movies we loved. You know, it's
John
really
Ford.
warm and yeah.
I have to say, Stephen Wester, he's quite a guy, the cinematographer.
Oh, so chops to your cinematographer. Well, yes.
Maybe I can start the question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can start the question because I'm glad you mentioned the Chicago Heights, and then I'm honored that somebody liked that film. Like almost 10 years later, we made it with just $1,000 for food and with the school equipment. So, but I think it was really interesting journey for me. So that's why I want to ask you the kind of the same question. So, of course, like when you adapt a story from 100 years ago, there is something kind of the strong reason you are doing it, because I see the same thing happening. Probably first, I can see that same thing that happened 100 years ago. It is happening now, but it's a different way, because I think that's what history means. Because to me, history only is meaningful when it is interpreted to the way in the eyes of modern world. Because I think to me, like, okay, so what happened in the 1593, what war, what is the name of the king? It's not really important for me. I'm not a historian, but to me, what important is something happened 15th century, it means something now. So when you chose Huckleberry Finn, what did it mean to you in 2017, 2018?
Well, so I had been thinking about adapting the book and transposing it to a modern context as early as 2013. And so, you know, the war on immigrants didn't begin with Trump. You know, before Trump, Obama had deported more people than any other president. And, you know, there was horrific treatment of immigrants in Arizona, of course, the anti-immigrant laws that were passed there. So I was, you know, taking in all of this. At the time, I was studying Huckleberry Finn at university, and so I was struck by the power of the book and how moving it was. And of course, if a book moves you, that means it's speaking, as you say, to something that's happening to you now and to the people around you and people you love. And so that's the start of, and then of course over the years the story has changed and developed, and witnessing what happened in especially in the early parts of 2017, there was a huge spike of immigrants, undocumented immigrants, crossing the border illegally into Canada, because just the atmosphere of fear and this overwhelming fear of not knowing what's going to happen with the fascistic Trump regime coming into power, and people fearing being deported back to war-torn, poverty-stricken countries. People died trying to cross the border in winter into Canada in 2017. A woman from Ghana, Mavis Sotutie, died in Minnesota, a couple miles from the border. And of course, this, I'm outraged and disgusted, and but to tie it back to Elijah's film, yeah, tomorrow will be different, and we have to fight to make it different.
It's funny because we are all Mark Twain's child in a way, because with the sentence that they didn't know it was impossible, that's why they did it. You're a filmmaker. We're all filmmakers to count stories, and when you have ideas, you say, how will I find the money? How will I do it? And you did it. We did it. So we are all Mark Twain's child, man. And so to us, it's fine to take the Huckleberry Finn story and to put it in life like you did, in a modern way.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I agree with that. And Marc and Frank, it's like you both took something that had affected you emotionally and sat down and wrote. I mean, you had germinated your idea, Frank, for quite a while. And but when it finally came to you, it came out of a moment of feeling a unique sense of solidarity with undocumented workers, feeling like human beings are not illegal. And you were just driven to make this story with your true love of the great classics. And Marc, you were furious about a real story that happened to a fantastic actress, and I find that interesting that you both had an emotional reason to write your story, and then of course very different reasons to place it in the genres that it's in. But I will say, Frank, it was very bold to take the story of Huck Finn, to throw it into that light, right? Like you did with a refugee from Somalia, and changing those things, yet at the same time, keeping the sweetness of Huck Finn and the sweetness of the tale. That's
very
what I
clever.
love about the film.
Yeah, very clever. Yeah.
I think sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I love the story, but also one technical thing I really liked was that small monologue by the actress, where it's daylight and then it switches to a storm. Like I just really liked that. I was like, oh, that was really neat. So yeah, I think you really hit that. That's it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I echo everything everyone else said. I thought it was beautifully shot. I was just like, I don't even know how you did the shots on the raft. Like there were I was just like to me, I was like, that's magic. I don't know how I write, I'm the actor. I am not the director. So what you guys do it's really is magic to me sometimes. I'm just like, I don't know how you did it. It was really beautiful. And I will say, having the choice, and it's interesting, you've made me now want to read Huckleberry Finn. I never was interested in reading that story, I'll be honest. In high school, I never did. And so watching your film, and the fact that Huckleberry kept saying illegals was very triggering to me every single time, because I mean, I'm first generation American, but I just don't think any human being is illegal. I'm definitely of that group, independent of my own cultural backgrounds or anything like that. So, but his innocence, him saying it, I was like, you could tell he's a young kid. And I was like, is he just repeating? And I kept being like, why does he keep saying illegals? But it didn't take to what Suzanne was saying. I felt there was a certain innocence with him without knowing the story of Huckleberry Finn and having read it, without knowing any of that. So it made me curious and wanting to go back to the classic, to be quite honest. And but using that term, the illegals, I was just like, that's what made me remind myself, like just bridging the two worlds. That was the word, that repetitiveness of that. Because everything else looked of a time that I would imagine in Huckleberry Finn's setting. But when I heard the actor, I couldn't place his accent, but now that you say Somalian, and like, it's like, wait a second, that's newer for sure, because I would imagine in the book, if it is also, like it would have been maybe an African slave, but different, And so I was just like, wait, so I was along for the ride, say it all to say, piecing it together, because I didn't have any context of how it actually plays out in the book. But it didn't rob me of the experience and being curious.
That's really neat. I think you're the first person I know that has seen it without reading the book. So I think if you do find time to revisit the classic, it's considered one of the most immortal anti-racist novels ever written. So it's extremely important. And I know it's been lionized in film. And so people think of the adventures of Tom and Huck, and is it Becky or Betsy? I forget the girl in it, but
Becky Thatcher. Well, she's not
Becky Thatcher. Yeah. So, but really, there's so much in there. And what Frank did was take those nuggets from that story and put it into our society today, and see that, we do still have these issues. Then they've been growing since Mark Twain was talking about it. So very clever, I think. So that's cool that you may have inspired somebody to read Huck Finn. So
yeah, I also haven't read the book. I feel like I know so much about it from pop culture.
Right.
But I've never read it, and I still really enjoyed the story. So
great.
Yeah. It's great. And I'm glad, because it's funny, because it's just a personal connection, because I wrote my screenplay Banana Season in Hannibal, Missouri. I wanted to get the spirit from Mark Twain, and I went to visit that the cave that he, the kind of the background of the Mark Twain and Huckleberry Finn and all that. So it was really interesting to see that, all that connection. And then I also made, the adaptation from the old novel. I thought, oh, he should have shot the black and white.
Oh yeah.
If you ever do it, call me. I should have a black and white film.
I would love to. Yeah. And the thing about Hannibal is that, now it's like a tourist town, and they love, there's all the iconography of Tom Sawyer, because that's the nice book about the nice mischievous but nice respectable middle-class boy. But Huck Finn, the town of Hannibal, well, it's fictionalized as St. Petersburg, but the town does not come off in a good light in Huckleberry Finn. It's a much darker book, and so the official Hannibal kind of distances itself from Huck Finn, although of course among the people there's a great affection for that book, and the basic message of solidarity and equality.
Wow.
Despite being from Missouri, I neither have read the book, which, I lived probably an hour and a half away from Hannibal all of my life. Well, up until 18, whenever I moved to Los Angeles. But that being said, one of the things I also really love about your film that I also kind of wanted to just inquire about was this idea of kind of the what I call the patriotic gospel. I am a Christian, but the Christianity that is often taught in America is very weirdly anti-immigrant, anti a lot of things, and that's very, very shown within your film. I wanted to know, is that partially inspired by the book? Was that something you felt needed to be brought to light to kind of like put, as Jesus respected no border at all, ever, without in his life, and a ton of the Bible is, love your neighbor, welcome the immigrant, ton of that stuff. Like what was it that made you feel like this is a really important aspect that I need to bring into this story?
Oh yeah, that's that. Thanks for that great question. That's definitely an essential element of the book that is often discarded in movie adaptations. The most recent one was done by Disney in 1993, and there's this fear of alienating the Christian audience. But yeah, as you say, well, in the context of the novel, slavery was taught and understood. The big lie was that slavery was ordained by God, and there would be pro-slavery arguments that would cite Bible verses. And the chilling thing to connect it to to our adaptation was that Jeff Sessions, Attorney General Jeff Sessions, was citing the same Bible verses that were used to justify slavery to justify the separation of children from their parents after crossing the border. So, I mean, that just the idea was germinating for a long time, but yeah, it was just stunning to see the parallels and yeah, and eventually the book is all about the lies of American civilization, as Huck misspells it with an S. The book is written as if it's written by Huck, and the ultimate lie being that slavery is ordained by God, and Huck comes to he thinks he really is going to hell by violating this, but that's the irony of the book. And when he's doing bad, he thinks he's doing good, and when he's doing good, he thinks he's doing bad. And yeah, it's a very rich book. And yes, in short, that does come from the book.
What the people should have in mind, especially in the United States, but I mean in all the other big countries too, is that I mean we have we own a debt to the Black people and to the people who were in slavery. So when migrants came in a city, I mean it's just few people. If you compare it to all the people who had been killed during these periods and trade, the human trade, so that they should see it like that more than, oh, they're coming in our country, they're gonna steal everything, they're gonna, and be afraid of it. But the American society is not white. It's different cultures, and that's why America is America normally. What's not normal, it's the way to say we are the white are the most powerful, we're the white, and to use guns to protect your house because you're scared of the. So no, that's so it's important to add this, the kind of movie you made.
Yes, Frank, I would like to see your film be able to be seen, say, and Elijah, you can tell me if this would be viable, but in high schools, along with reading Huck Finn, it's still required reading in plenty of schools. I know that there's been some schools who've tried not to have it be required reading, but I think it would be fun for kids to read it and then see your film. So do you have any ideas of how you market a film afterwards? If you think that, is that where you want it to be, or would you just want it in art house theaters or on demand, or would you love it to go to an institution to be part of a curriculum?
Oh, anywhere they'll have it, I'd love to show it.
Well, I think so, Elijah. Do you agree? I think it would be okay to reach out to high school. Like one of our judges, Matt Holdren, is a high school film teacher at our local high school. So we have an in there where we might ask him if he would like to see if that would be part of curriculum. It's a bigger deal to get that installed than I'm just saying, but I think that would be great. Do you agree, Elijah?
I definitely agree. I mean, I remember in high school doing some of the college level English classes. We definitely would look at books and then compare kind of the film adaptations, because that's still literature. It's still analyzing art, even though screenwriting and novel writing are very different, and there are bound to be changes. So I think it's really cool to actually open it up to discussion for students, both in high school and in college, even in middle school, possibly to analyze those differences of that original interpretation to this modern adaptation, and kind of understand like not only what changes are there, but also what are the striking similarities, what progress hasn't been done that should be.
Yeah.
It's great to compare. For the first play I wrote, the name is Love, Gore, and Beauty, and it's an actor who wants to play a soap opera in a theater, but there is the Macbeth malediction on the theater, and there starts to play Macbeth in the soap opera, and all the people who came. It was great to do, for example, to learn to the students to learn the Shakespeare universe like that with something modern, and after to compare it, so it can be a good way, good idea.
I think so too. An extra way to just emphasize the message that comes out of Twain's book and your story. So
yeah.
But I think we need to move on to Nia and Kurt. Been so patient, but I just love hearing all that you've been saying about the other films. So we want to talk to Nia and Kurt. Kurt directed 4 seasons and Nia wrote and acted in it. So I'm assuming you all got a chance to see this film. I don't know if any of you are married or about to get married or have been married and divorced, but this movie speaks to it all with a beautiful transition of the seasons. I do love that. And I know that that's been done in films before. It's nothing super new, but I loved how you incorporated it with the relationships. It was a very good way just to hone in, because there are seasons in a relationship. You don't have to put it down to spring, winter, summer, and fall, right? There are seasons to how we evolve. I thought it was a beautiful film. I found it absolutely angst-ridden and frustrating. I'm a little older than the two of you guys, so I've been through a marriage and a divorce and a reconciliation, and now we're friends. So, I've been through a lot of that, and I so thought you played it so well, of the stages that a couple can go through with the circumstances that they had. So bravo on the writing, outstanding acting and directing, a really excellent film. And we have one young judge. I think he wrote to you, Nia, Uriah Berryhill, and said how much he loved your film. I was so afraid. He's so brand new married with 2 new babies. And I was like, Uriah, maybe you don't want to see this movie 4 seasons. But he loved it. Always he goes, I'm absolutely going to see that, he says. And he absolutely loved it. He wasn't a judge. He was one of our pre-screeners that pushes the film to the festival judges. So he was like, oh boy, this movie's got to get to the judges. Everybody has to see this. So
I didn't get his message. So please tell him to resend if he did send it. I was like,
I'll have to look at it. It's somewhere on Facebook. His name is Uriah Berry.
Oh, yes. Okay, on Facebook. Okay, I was like, wait, I didn't get it in my email.
No, it was Uriah.
For a second, I was like, did I miss that?
I was so nervous because he's one of our youngest guys with a brand new wife and brand new babies. And I just thought, oh, can he see this? But he loved it. He loved the honesty of it. I think he shared it with his wife because they could talk about it a little bit. So definitely a film that I think has longevity and could certainly be shown, couples counseling maybe. But anyway, I loved it. So bravo.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I also just absolutely loved it. I think both your performance and whoever was playing your husband, incredible acting. And really, this is the kind of film that relies on, just those incredible performances. So well done. Would love to know also, just as I used to act, I love acting. I'm not passionate about it in the same way that I am writing and directing. And I have promised myself that I would never, ever act in something I write or direct. So what is that challenge for you when writing and then, turning that into performance? And how much did you have to rely on Kurt to kind of guide you and not like get in your head about what you had seen in the screenwriting to now like what you're actually experiencing on the set? Because I know those are 2 very different things.
Yeah, well, with writing, my segue from acting into writing really came from a place of wanting to give voice to the things that I want to say, or the things I wanted to explore, or the issues. So with my first short, it really centered around a young woman who is homeless in New York and her plight and advocating for herself. And with this, I mean, all the themes, the love, the friendship, the seasons of the relationship, the things that are said and or felt but not said, not addressed, how that arises. So for the writing aspect, for me, this really Four Seasons came about very organically, where both Kurt had been moved to LA like a year and a half, and I was moving back to LA. We've known each other for many years, and it was like he wants to shoot something narrative because he was doing a lot of commercial work at the time and other cool stuff. And then I was like, listen, I just want to act. So it was like, all right, you direct it, I'll write it. And that's how that came about. So for me, it was always with the understanding that I would be in it, but in the writing process, I was just writing the story. I wasn't thinking about myself. I wasn't thinking about anything, because Kurt and I had a lot of conversations about what we might want to shoot. And then organically, we started talking about relationships and our friends and where people are going through things. And I was like, oh, it's like the seasons. And I had wanted to shoot something that I had an idea for something else that would be like a film in 4 parts or 7 parts. So really we came down to the number 4, so it was like, it happened very organically. I hadn't watched any films or known of any films that I can recall that did the seasons in that way. So it wasn't like I had seen it before and decided to replicate that in any way, as much as the seasons spoke to what they were going through as a couple, the seasons of their relationships. And even with the guys in that scene, they're going through a season in their friendship where someone's getting married and the other is like, I don't know about this. Why are you doing this? So that's the writing aspect. Honestly, this was my first time, writing and producing, but then also helping with casting. Kurt and I really shared a lot of this. I mean, Kurt was my partner in this 100%. And it really, when we got maybe 2 days before filming, I was like, okay, guys, I need to be the actor because I got to learn my lines. I have to learn my lines, I have to learn it. And be on point, and it was like on set, it's like we're shooting the scene and then I'm also the producer and having to make sure, all right, we got lunch, like, guys, is lunch ready, all those things. So for me, it was a challenge, because where the first project we worked on was more in the vein of Marc's film, where it was a monologue, it was me, it was just shooting, I didn't have transitions. Four Seasons, we had different actors, we had a whole team, there was transitions. So this was new for me, to have to take the space that I needed when it was time. And the great thing with Kurt is that I had the freedom to do so. I felt safe enough, I felt supported enough to be the actor when it was time, and had done so much of the prepping ahead of time with him and, our DP, and he really manned the crew and all of that 100%. So really, I was just more so on set having to make sure, all right, be ready for the scene as the actor, and then making sure from a producing standpoint that everyone was fed. As far as the lighting and everything else, like all of the technical things, Kurt handled that. So it made it easier. I don't think it would have been the same experience had I not had that support, to be quite honest, because then I'd been worried about, is it being shot well? With Kurt, I trusted that his vision and the understanding of what we were creating, that was in safe hands. So it allowed me to just be the actor. And David, who plays Braxton, Sharice's boyfriend, fiance, husband, he was great. I mean, that's an actor that Kurt had worked with. We had another actor lined up for it who it was scheduling problematic and had to kind of call in David last minute, and he came in and rocked it. So it's great because we didn't have, by the time David got to LA to shoot this, I think we had like an afternoon to read through the script together, but chemistry, all that stuff was that we were 2 actors being like, let's jump in, right? And so
yeah, David had only 2 days to prep, because our other lead, he had dropped out, and we were just kind of distraught. And David is
Wow.
somebody I worked with on like my second, or maybe my first directorial short film in New York, and he was great, and so he just kind of came in at the
Well,
last minute, and
that's very
yeah,
impressive because,
there's a
you
lot of
know,
lines.
for your directorship, if I may say, and the camera work, those very intimate scenes in the bed, like that we are introduced to as you guys are having your conversations, very intimate, very loving, so natural. I mean, I actually thought, Nia, that you and this guy had acted together before, probably. I was like, yeah, they probably done some stuff together because it was so natural. You guys were really, really good. And I could also tell that you had a director that you must have really trusted and cared for, because you created that sense of intimacy so naturally in that bed that I just don't know how else you could have done it with any director who could. You must have been, Kurt, so sensitive to that lighting and that really close in static, letting them move, letting them do everything. I just found that so beautifully done, but at the same time, a little unnerving, because I'm like, whoa, we are like in bed with this couple. And, we were really in it with them. And I'm hanging on every word because the visuals are smooth and lovely and flowing. And, the sheets are doing their thing and everything's just moving. But what they're saying is driving this story. And we're seeing that beautiful season open up in the beginning. I just thought that was amazing. And I knew that you had to have trust in your director, just by how, maybe not. I mean, maybe you're natural. I've only seen you in this film, so maybe you just happen to be really natural on camera. But he really brought that out in both of you to where I was like, these guys, and you were so natural and it was so real. That's why I was afraid for my young colleague who's so newly married. I was like, you can't see this, because it does devolve. And by the end, I'm feeling super sad for them, but I'm invested. You've made us care about the couple. I really want it to work out. And I'm older and I've been through it more, and I'm yelling stuff at them like, no, but like, if you just listen to this, or just listen to what he's saying, like, you guys can work this out. So I was caught up in it, just so full of anxiousness, but I really loved it. And bravo and brava on a great piece. So anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I mean, it goes through cycles, like you said, 4 seasons, each has their distinct mood and feel. But I think my favorite part, as a guy who has been in these conversations, the beginning when the dudes are sitting around and just trashing their buddy for that, like, it was just it felt so real. And I was like laughing out loud because I was like, I've been in that room before and I've trashed my friend and been trashed. So like, it was just funny and it felt really real. And I think that being kind of the opening outside of the initial scene with the couple, it like just really makes us warm up to the male protagonist. And yeah, and then I was in it. And then to follow that up with the bed scene, like you said, Suzanne, then it's like, oh, now I'm really invested in the emotional side of this. Whereas in the beginning, it was kind of just making me laugh and get on board. And pretty quickly, it takes that turn into like, oh, now I can't wait to see where this relationship goes. And,
yeah, and the bed scene is great
really
because
well
the frame, the bed scene is great because we're really close to them. You don't see you just see the upper bodies, and so you're really in the discussion. You're in the intimacy. It's great, fun.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, our
Very,
DP, he was
Go
our
ahead.
DP, Chris Valona. He was dead set on that frame, and it was to rig it up there and everything. It was just like a big deal, and it was like the first thing. Like when we first came in to block the apartment, that was like the first thing he pointed out to do, and I was like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really awesome. I also liked how there was like quite a bit of negative space above their heads. I just really liked that detail. It I don't know, it made it almost look like these people are in a pool and we're just observing like this big space that only they exist in. I don't know, there was something to that framing that was just really, really cool and appealing. And it's like you said, it's a lot of dialogue. So it's great that it was, while it is, I think, one static shot there and then another alternating shot more to the side angle, it made it really visually appealing to, you know, stay in it as an audience. Yeah, I really like that.
It's interesting because in the process of those moments, with the bedroom scene in particular, we talked about that a lot. I said, you know, I just want to see like a couple just actually having pillow talk, talking, and us not pulling away from it, right? And Kurt felt the same way. Like, what would that be to just see them and watch their conversation unfold and just be there? And that's the whole piece. Even all of 4 seasons is really about their conversation, what they're expressing, and their exchanges with each other. And so I was really excited to do that. And to have it be intimate without it just being sex. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's other intimacy. Like, we know it just happened and it's gonna happen again, but like that, the moment in between very seldomly gets shown in films, you know? And as they're talking about what they want to create together, which then we see what happens starts to happen subsequently, right? But I remember Kurt being like, all right, you know, definitely on set, our Kurt, and it was just so funny because it was so intimate that I think everyone at different points was like, oh, wait, this is feeling okay, you know? And I think for me and all of us, like, that was like, I had a lot of joy with that, that it was so intimate that people would have a response. But also hearing about the scenes with the guys, you know, I in the writing process, I bounced everything off of Kurt too. I was like, tell me, all right, as a female writing these male characters, I wanted to make sure the voice was authentic. I was like, I have a lot of guy friends. I just want to make sure the guys see themselves. And Kurt would say, all right, that's on point, or no, you know? And so it's really wonderful. A lot of feedback, even from this festival, because this was where some friends and family were able to see it. The conversations, like, so many guy friends were like, yeah, all right, is this me? Are you talking about me? And I'm like, no, it wasn't you. What are you talking about, you know? So I think that's like the greatest compliment as well, is that people felt it and they weren't put off by how much they were talking to each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, that people were invested in the dialogues between the guys and between the couple in the bed.
Great.
I think one thing that was cool was, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think one thing that was cool is like those conversations actually did happen in front of like my old TV and playing video games. And then sorry. And in the barbershop, my friend used to cut our hair, and and all of our friends went to the same barber. So these same conversations happened there, and like Nia just did a really good job of like translating how those scenes actually go down. So that was a very authentic scene.
Yeah, I found the dialogue to be very real. You know, it was visually a really wonderfully perfect film in its static and its motion. I loved everything about it. But the dialogue, even though you know, you had these seasons that drove where your story was going, I thought the dialogue was on point in every scene. It was really well written, and very brave for you, Nia, also to go from, you know, being very nubile and just sweet and cozy in the bed where we all want to get in and just kind of hold you. But then seeing what you go through after you've had your baby and you're overwhelmed and you're not thinking he's doing all he should, but he thinks he is. It's very real. It happens to a lot of couples just like that. And the hardest part is for each of you to be able to see each other's side, you know, because I could see it. I could see everything he said was so true, and everything you said was so true about what you were both going through. And it does get into a stalemate where you can't see that other side. So I think that was very well played, because I saw it and I wanted to just take you both and say, all right, no, just listen a little bit and you'll get this. So I have hope for the couple.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, like, we talked a lot, like, when we had the Q&A together like a month ago, but I just remember that because it was like looks like a different genre. The beginning, very comical. At the end, very drama. So, but still, it doesn't feel like all over, because like we have a good kind of a foundation, which is reality. So that ties all these different genres together. I think it did a great job. That's like a great example about how you can tell the story effectively, actually, with all this mixed genre. Because a lot of times when people try to be very adventurous, I want to do the mixed genre vendor, but when they do that, a lot of times story goes to the total different mountain where it's supposed to go to this mountain. So I think in terms of that, I give you great credit. And then we talked a lot about this the bed scene, because I just mentioned that, because this I did that top view bed scene many times, probably. Oh, frankly, it's kind of like a Chicago Heights and then Hometown, like a full-blown sex scene on top of the bed. It was the most awkward moment as the DP, two leather, high hat, pancake, bolted, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. But I know how awkward it is for an actor. The camera is right over you, and then you're talking to your opponent. But I know it's really a really tough job. But every single scene, there's like that deep root of reality is there. So I think that is great thing. Yeah, great job, you guys did.
Thank you.
Well, thanks everybody. This was great. I mean, I can see that we all love talking about movies. I could tell the fact that you all signed on to do this, that not only are you creators and really great creators at that, but you also have that similar bond with audiences in that we love to talk about movies. We love to see movies. So I love that we have the opportunity to do this. My thing was, I want everyone to see everyone's movies. And in the real world, when we're face to face, we can kind of almost achieve that, get as many people in as we can. But we really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch these links and come on and join your fellow filmmakers from our festival. It's only our third fest, and this is the first time we've done this. And I love it because that's what I love doing, is hearing about the process and what you guys think of each other's films. So thank you very much.
Thank you for this.
Say?
Yeah. Thank you.
Hope to meet you in person.
Yeah.
Meet you in person.
flesh.
So if you need any DP, call me. Hook me up.
Yeah.
You guys are all excellent filmmakers.
And they told us the 5G was the new technology that we can do things. I tried to cross in the travel and to join you. It's impossible. So 5G is not a good thing.
No.
It's better to see each other in real,
Right.
Well, I do want to say thank you to Suzanne, Jake, and the entire Chicago Southland International Festival. Honestly, this was a great experience. And I wonder if I didn't get to see more films because it was virtual, because I was able to see it. Sometimes when you're physically at a festival, scheduling wise, you might have a screening at the time on a block, it doesn't always line up. So I think you guys did an excellent job in pivoting to a virtual space, and the communication and the support and the platform. Like, it was really, really seamless, and I felt very supported as a filmmaker in the process. And even, the choice to say, hey guys, I know the festival is done, but do y'all want to get together again? Yeah. I think this is like, I've never experienced this before, so thank you for creating the space.
And we feel the love you've put in it, really, and that's a pleasure for us to share with you.
Well, on behalf of my co-founder, Josh Young, he and I do have a great love for this. We're not married, but this is like our baby. So, so we do have a lot of love for it. And we love our team of pre-screeners and judges and our programmers, and just a great group of people, and a very small group of people that came together just to put this festival together. So I'm thrilled to have that great of a team, but even more fantastic filmmakers like you, who are creative and wonderful and friendly and are willing to come on and, not only join us, but help contribute to making our festival a success and give us a reason that we can keep going. And that's our whole modus operandi, I guess, is that we want to nurture filmmakers, celebrate you guys, and bring you in solely for that. And then the audiences, their privilege is to be in your space and see your films. So that's the kind of festival that I've had a vision for since I was 6 years old. So here we go.
The one last
so
thing,
like Huckleberry film, you did it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just said to spread the word. Let your friends, filmmaker friends know, and then let them apply for this festival.
Yep, we'll be back next October. We don't know if it'll be face to face. We have a beautiful theater if we do. If not, we know how to do this now, so we'll be able to go forward. But next October 15th, 16th, and 17th. But if it goes virtual, we'll stretch it to a week. So whatever you're working on or whatever your friends are working on, encouraged to submit next year. So well,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
they'll open at the end of
For sure.
December. So
Cool.
thanks
Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining us.
Thank
It's
you.
such a
Thank
pleasure.
you guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Good luck with
Bye-bye.
everything.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Here's everybody.